Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew? We back, baby. More Mr. Ballen. We got Evil Brothers daily playing. Caught on camera. Y'all said we most definitely got to check this one out. Y'all know we do, baby. Shout out to the crew. They hop in the comments and have to, you know what I'm saying, put y'all, you know.
What?
Go ahead, let y'all know for those who don't know. I ain't going to say, you know what I'm saying, correct.
What? Okay.
Hey, man, with that being said, before we get into this, man, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go, man. You want to first support, all you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
like it with a thumbs up.
Hey, don't forget Patreon. Don't forget Facebook. Y'all gotta go show some love and support. But hey, this I hope this one good one. Because a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, like the post said this. You gotta check it out.
Well, hopefully it's good. I mean,
what was last week?
Why not?
Last week was good, right? Oh, last week was the one about the dude that didn't come back from the island.
Oh, that one was last week. Yeah. That was,
A lot of people didn't want to comment on that one. Or they commented, but they wanted y'all didn't let us know y'all thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
But y'all gotta let us know y'all thoughts after this one, man. With that being said, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get into it. Let's check out see what it's about, man.
Several years ago, prank videos were huge on YouTube. Basically, a prank YouTube channel would go out in public and they would do something to some unsuspecting person and they would film it, and that video would get tons of views on YouTube. Well, during this prank heyday, there was one YouTube channel that pulled off a prank that really stood out amongst the thousands and thousands of others that were getting pumped out during this time. And the reason this particular prank stood out was because 1, it was masterfully planned, 2, it was brilliantly executed, and 3, most memorably, it had massive intended and unintended consequences. We're talking international scandal level consequences. And amazingly, this story has yet to be converted into a major motion picture, and so I would imagine that most of you have actually never heard of it. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please go in to the like button cell phone and change their emergency contact to Papa John's. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay?
But before we even get into the story, that is the reason why so much has changed when it come down to YouTube. YouTube is super, super strict now. Content to react to even do is very, very scarce. At one point, every video, whether it's comedy, balling, damn near every video we would post.
Yeah.
I'll be uploaded and I'm like, hey, we're gonna put it out just so y'all can, but it will be age restricted. Damn near every video. At one point, Family Guy, American Dad, Boondocks.
Everything.
I'm like, but it's because of that generation of content.
To today's story. On the night of February 12th, 2017, a young woman named Sidi Aisha saw something coming over to her that surprised her so much that she gasped and she put her drink down on the bar. The bar she was at was called the Hard Rock Cafe in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital city of Malaysia. This night for Sidi had already been one of the best in recent memory, but now it was getting even better because a waitress was walking over to her carrying a birthday cake with a candle lit in the middle, and Sidi knew it was for her. So she stepped forward kind of bashfully, and all of Sidi's friends who were there with her kind of formed up around her, and as the waitress came over to Sidi, the friends all immediately began singing singing happy birthday to City. It was City's 25th birthday, and she could not believe how far she had come. Here she was in this beautiful American-styled restaurant, surrounded by her friends, who were these big TV show producers, and tonight they were throwing a party for her, something that did not happen often in City's life to this point. After City's friends finished singing happy birthday, City leaned forward and she blew out her candle, but she didn't even make a wish before she blew it out, because to her, she felt like she had everything she had ever wanted. And so instead, as she blew that candle out, she just made a point to feel incredibly grateful for the life that she now had. Because not long ago, City's life looked very different. City had grown up in a tiny town inside of a jungle in Indonesia. She was the youngest of 3 children, and her parents were very poor farmers that barely made enough money to provide shelter and food for their kids. In fact, City's parents were so poor that they couldn't afford to send her to high school. They needed her to stay home and go to work to help support the family. City would end up getting married, and she would have a son with her husband, but her husband would divorce her and not provide any support for their kid. And so suddenly City was the single mother trying to look out for her son while also trying to provide for her parents and her other siblings. And eventually it became so difficult to find enough work to provide for all these people that City was forced to go abroad and look for work elsewhere outside of Indonesia, which meant she had to leave behind not only her parents and siblings, but also her son. Her son had to stay with her parents. City would ultimately find work as a masseuse in a hotel in Malaysia called the Flamingo. Now, City really did not like this work at all, but it paid well enough, and she needed the money badly enough, that she decided to just keep on doing it. Sometimes City, like a lot of the other girls that she worked with at the hotel, would daydream about being discovered as a model or a singer or an actress and getting taken away from this life to a life of luxury and wealth and leisure. But City never really expected that to happen. Next to City at the bar was her producer, whose name was James. And James had his arm around her, and he suddenly flashed her his cell phone, and he kind of pointed to the screen. And City looked at it, and she saw there was a text message from someone, but it was in a language that she didn't recognize. And she asked James, what is that? And James grinned at her and said, "This is my boss telling me that you are already a superstar in Korea." And when City heard this, she was totally embarrassed, but also really excited. City had met James about a month ago in January of 2017, when City and some of her friends from the hotel had decided to go out for the night. Now, City very rarely went out. She basically worked and slept and then sent home her money to her family. But for whatever reason, she had been convinced by her friends to go out and have a good time. And so she was all dolled up, and she and her friends were standing in line to get into a bar when a very handsome man wearing a suit, James, walked up to City and said, "Have you done any acting?" And City, wearing her best clothes with her friends, she suddenly felt bold, and she told this guy, who she didn't know, that, "No, I haven't, but I'd like to try." And so James asked her if she'd come with him, and she said okay. And they went to this cafe, and they sat down, got coffees, and James explained to City who he was. And he told her he was a Japanese television producer who specialized in hidden camera prank videos. And he needed actresses to put on pretty clothes and pull pranks on unsuspecting people on camera. City had initially been very skeptical.
You remember those? We did like 2 compilations of those, like those Japanese prank shows.
Yeah.
And YouTube struck us for those. And I'm like, those are scripted, like,
Yeah.
but they were like, it's against guidelines, and we fought for that one, and we lost because, and then it was another one on the channel. I said, man, let me just go ahead and delete that one before they come and snatch that one. But yeah, that's one, like, that is one reason, one of the strikes we got on our channel. We ain't never went back since.
Of James and this proposition. But at the same time, back then, prank videos were all the rage on YouTube. They were on mainstream TV. They were everywhere. And City knew that, but she had never thought about being in one. She just sometimes liked to watch them. But James would tell her, this is really easy work, and you'll get paid well for it. And so City had ultimately said, okay, yeah, I'll do it with you. And after she said yes, her life had been a whirlwind. No longer was she a masseuse at a hotel, but instead, she was like a celebrity, flying all over the country, filming all these prank videos, and James's bosses were so pumped, they kept messaging him, telling him how amazing she was, and how every video she was doing was outperforming anything they hoped it could do. I mean, everything was going perfectly. City took a few more bites of her birthday cake, and then she checked her watch and saw it was almost 10 p.m., which for James and her other friends might be early, but for City, that was pretty late. Plus, she had already had a lot of alcohol that night, and so that was making her more tired. And so she told James and the others she was going to leave. She thanked them for the party, and then she headed out and went to her hotel. As soon as City was in her room, she immediately called her mother. City and her mom talked all the time, sometimes multiple times a day, and this night, City just really missed her mom, and she really missed her son. And as soon as she called her mom picked up and they chatted for a bit. And City told her all about how she'd had this amazing birthday party and how excited she was about the next day because they were shooting a really big prank. It was going to be their biggest one yet, and it would have the biggest payout of any of the videos she had done so far. This one, tomorrow, was going to pay her $100 US. And City told her mom, "Don't worry, I'm sending all of it back home to you all." City's mother was so thankful and so excited for her daughter, and she said, "That's wonderful, get a good night's sleep, and I'll be thinking of you tomorrow." And after that, City talked to her son for a couple of seconds, and then they hung up, and City crawled into bed, she turned off the light, and she tried to sleep, but she couldn't. She was too excited about tomorrow's shoot. She and James had been talking about this particular prank for the last week, and they'd been rehearsing it over and over again, and now here she was on the precipice of actually doing it in real life. The pranks that City did were all pretty similar and pretty simple. She and James would go to some train station or some hotel or some other public area, and they would identify an unsuspecting older man, and then City, all dressed up, would go up to this guy while she was being filmed at a distance, and she would either kiss the man on the cheek or spray him with perfume or rub chili oil on his hand, and then she would giggle and run away, and then the camera crew would zoom in on the man's face as he's kind of bewildered and trying to figure out why that had just happened. But tomorrow's prank, even though it was pretty similar to the ones she had done, it would be the first time she'd be working with another actor. In fact, two other actors. One of the actors was a woman who would be doing the pranking with City, and then their target, the unsuspecting man, was also an actor. James and the Japanese television production company had insisted that for this prank to work, this guy really did need to be in on it. City had already met and rehearsed a couple of times with the other woman who she'd be doing this prank with, but she had not met the third actor, the unsuspecting man, yet. She'd be meeting him the next day, actually during the prank. City would eventually fall asleep that night, and then her alarm would go off fairly early the next morning, and when it did, City immediately got out of bed and she got dressed in a dark form-fitting outfit. She put on some red lipstick, and then she hustled out of her room, downstairs, and out of the hotel to meet James, the woman actress she'd be working with that day, and the other producers who were involved in the production. Then, as a...
I ain't, like, so far we ain't heard nothing like too far, you know, over, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like,
where's the bad part?
Yeah, I mean, of course we go here, but I'm like, how could it like turn to something? You know what I'm saying? Because everything seems so innocent right now.
And that was just what 2017.
Yeah,
that long ago. Like, and like when stuff bad do happen to people like her,
yeah,
like it kind of hurts even more because you got to think about, you know, they're not just going by life for themselves.
Yeah.
They're really trying to go out here and help their family.
Yeah.
She'd be working with that day, and the other producers who were involved in the production. Then, as a big group, they hopped in a cab and went to the international airport where this big prank was going to take place. And when they got there, they made their way to a restaurant in the departures area to wait for the third actor, the unsuspecting man, to show up so they could begin the shoot. And while they waited, City and the other actress she'd be working with struck up a conversation. The other actress's name was Duan Thi Huang, and she was a 28-year-old woman from Vietnam. And just like City, she had come from a poor family, and she had gone abroad to find work to help support her family, and it was during this time that she was abroad that she was recruited to star in these prank videos. But unlike City, who daydreamed about maybe being a singer or a model or an actress or something someday, for Doan, Acting was the only thing she ever thought of. Her whole life, the only thing she ever wanted was to be an actress. In fact, Do-won had left school to pursue a career in show business. She had been on a show called Vietnam Idol, but unfortunately did not make it past the first round. And she had actually done a few other prank videos with a different production company, but neither of those two ventures had ever really panned out. It wasn't until she was recruited by James and his team to be a part of these videos that Do-won finally felt like she was on the right track. And as they talked, City couldn't help but feel like Do-won was just a little bit weird. She did like Do-won, she had no issues with her, but Do-won had chose to wear for this big shoot today a very childish outfit. Instead of wearing something similar to what City had on, which City imagined she would be, Do-won was wearing this weird childish looking t-shirt that just said LOL on it, and she was carrying around with her everywhere this huge oversized teddy bear. But City just chalked it up to, maybe James and the other producers told Do-won to dress this way, and that's why. The group took their time at breakfast inside of this restaurant, just waiting for this third actor to show up. And finally, at 9 a.m., so after an hour of just sitting there, one of the producers actually said, "Hey, there he is right there." And so City and Do-won and James, they looked out into the very crowded area, and sure enough, where the producer was pointing was this guy who looked exactly like all of their other victims. He was this middle-aged, stocky guy carrying a briefcase who totally blended in with the hundreds of other people out there. And the producers told City and Do-won that it looked like this actor had already begun the scene. He was already heading over to the self-check-in kiosk, which was like the start of this prank. And so they told City and Do-won, like, go, start the prank. And so City grabbed the perfume that she was given to spray in this guy's face, and the producers rushed to rub this oil on Do-won's hands, along with give her a wet cloth, because that was what she was going to need for her side of this prank. And then City and Do-won stood up and began making their way out into the very crowded terminal. And as she walked, City couldn't help but feel very nervous, because she knew this was her big chance to show James and the other producers that she could work well with other actors, and that she could do a fairly complex prank. City and Do-won made their way right behind the third actor, and as he continued to punch the screen of the self-serve kiosk, the two women split up, just like they had rehearsed. City walked around the man and got on the backside of this kiosk, basically looking at the man who was looking down at the computer screen, and Do-won stayed where she was. And then Do-won looked up at City and nodded, which was the signal, at which point City rushed forward right in front of this guy, who looked up and acted surprised, and then Do-won ran up behind him and grabbed his face and rubbed her hands and that wet cloth all over his face, and then City, as soon as that was happening, sprayed the perfume on the guy's face as well, and then the two women kind of giggled and said sorry, and then walked away in separate directions. As City walked to the bathroom to wash the perfume off her hands, she was very conscious of the fact that she was still very likely being filmed.
Nah, that sounds like some type of other type of setup. You get what I'm saying? Oh, like, not no prank, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It seems like a different... You get where I'm going at?
Yeah.
I'm going to just hold off because I don't want to...
Yeah.
But that's what it's looking like.
See.
Perfume off her hands, she was very conscious of the fact that she was still very likely being filmed, and so she checked her hair a couple of times and made sure her clothes were just right, and then she disappeared into the bathroom, she washed her hands, and then she looked up at the mirror and she smiled, because she knew she had nailed this prank, and she was going to be a star. After City had finished washing up, she left the bathroom and made her way over to the meetup point, kind of on the other side of the airport, where Do-won, James, and the other producers were going to meet up, but no one was there. And she thought that was weird because they had totally planned to meet at this point after the prank. But after a little while, City told herself that, maybe they had already headed down to the taxi waiting area, and that's where they are, and they're waiting for me. So City left the airport and went to the taxi waiting area, but when she got there, she found herself alone again. And so City would stand there looking around, waiting for about 15 minutes, and when still she didn't see anybody, she texted James and said, where are you? But she didn't get a response, and so feeling kind of annoyed, City finally just flagged down a taxi on her own, hopped in, and told the driver she just wanted to go back to her hotel. And then on the drive to the hotel, City started to get car sick and kind of nauseous, and she figured it didn't help that she had drank a bunch the night before, so she was still a little bit hungover. And at some point, she actually had to tell the driver to pull over so she could vomit outside. And so finally, when City got back to her hotel and got back to her room, she felt so crappy and she was so upset with how everything was going that she didn't even bother to get undressed. She just jumped into her bed and fell asleep. City would sleep for several hours, and when she woke up again, she still felt totally hungover and gross, and she rolled over and checked her phone, expecting to see a message from James explaining why they had ditched her after the prank, but there was no messages or phone calls from anyone. And so City was totally annoyed and frustrated, but just couldn't deal with this right now. And so she put her phone down and fell asleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, when City woke up, she felt like a brand new person. She was not hungover anymore. She rolled over and grabbed her phone, again, expecting to see a message from James or someone. There wasn't anything. And so she called James. But as soon as she called him, she could tell his phone was now off. And so suddenly, City thought to herself, wait a minute, did the prank go badly? Did I do something wrong? Is that why they're ignoring me? And then also City thought to herself, am I still going to get paid for this prank? I told my family I was sending them $100. All day that day, City would sit on her bed in the hotel and call and text James. But James never got back to her. And City did not have the contact info for the other actors or the other producers. And so she was just totally stuck, not really sure what to do. And she just couldn't understand it. I mean, even if it had gone really badly, if she had blown that prank for some reason, she had spent the past 4 weeks with these people, specifically James, flying all over the country with him, going to dinners with him. He had thrown her a birthday party. They had all these long conversations about life. What could she have possibly done that would warrant this kind of treatment? And so by the end of that day, when still City had heard nothing, she just felt totally heartbroken and embarrassed and decided, you know what? I'm done with those people. Tomorrow, I'm going home to my family. And sure enough, the next day, City got up, she grabbed her things, she checked out of the hotel, she headed to the airport to fly back home. But as she was going through security...
All right, before we... What the fuck you think going on, C? Something is not... Like, from the jump, something's not right. Because if all three of y'all are actors and in on it, you would have had all y'all meet up from the jump. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or you would have known, like, they would have gave you a photo image or not just point them out. Hey.
Yeah, like this is what he looked, yeah.
And then why the hell she all of a sudden, after she sprayed the perfume this time, she gets sick?
She's sick now all of a sudden. But she think it's because she's been drinking, but it could have been because she came in contact with whatever it is that they gave her to spray in this man's face.
Because obviously whatever she put up, the other lady put on his face.
And what did she need the wet towel? Like, what was on this? Like, child.
This is a made for this dude should be made into a movie.
Child. I don't.
See, what the hell? That's a little bit more deeper, though, than what I'm thinking. It gotta be. But from the jump, all of it's a setup.
Yeah.
And it's a plot for something. Well, it's a plan anyway, but still, like,
Out of the hotel, she headed to the airport to fly back home. But as she was going through security, she heard all this commotion behind her, and she turned and she saw 6 heavily armed police officers sprinting in her direction. And so instinctively, City tried to get out of the way to let them run past her. But instead of the men running past her, they ran right up to her, grabbed her, flipped her around, and put her under arrest. And immediately, City's like, oh my goodness, this is what's been going on. They've been ghosting me for 2 days here because they were setting me up for another prank. I'm part of the prank now. James must be nearby filming, and they've sent these fake police officers to arrest me. And so this is all going to be on the show. And so feeling totally relieved, City began to laugh and said to one of the officers, oh, so this is a prank, huh? And the officer was like, no, this is real. You are under arrest. And when he told her what she was being arrested for, City nearly fainted. Here's what really happened during City's last big prank. After City and Do-won had run up on the third actor and Do-won rubbed that towel on his face and then City sprayed him with perfume, the 2 women had then disappeared into the crowd, and then the third actor just stood there staring blankly. And then he had kind of stumbled away from the kiosk over to a receptionist where he told her that he was feeling really dizzy. The receptionist could tell this guy definitely needed help. He was unsteady on his feet, his face was all wet, and he was speaking kind of frantically. And so she grabbed a few employees of the airport and they clustered around him and began walking him to the medical clinic that was in the airport. And as they escorted him to this clinic, the man began saying he was in so much pain and he kept walking slower and slower. And then finally, when they actually got him inside this clinic, just a couple of minutes later, he was on the ground having a seizure. Immediately, the medical staff rushed to the man's aid and they injected him with a medicine to stop the seizure. And then with the help of airport staff, they lifted him up, put him on a stretcher, and then rushed him to an ambulance that was supposed to take him to the hospital. But he would die on the way there. Sidi and Doan had no idea this had happened to the third actor after the prank. The two women had gone into separate bathrooms and then basically just missed each other. They came out staggered to the meeting point and they didn't see anyone. They both went down to the taxi waiting area thinking that's where everyone had gone. And again, Sidi and Doan just didn't see each other and they both got in their own taxis and went back to their own hotels. As for James and the other producers, the reason they were absent after this prank had ended is because they planned to be absent after this prank. As soon as they saw Sidi and Doan pulling off this prank successfully, they all got up from that restaurant and promptly rushed to board planes that would take them out of the country. Because James and these other producers were not really producers. They didn't have a prank show. It was all a charade. In reality, they worked for the North Korean government, and James, whose real name was Ri Ji-woo, had been tasked by the North Korean government to recruit gullible women, aka Sidi and Doan, to participate in a top-secret mission that could easily get them killed. In fact, this mission was so sensitive and so dangerous that James and his other TV producers had to live undercover for weeks with Doan and Sidi kind of slowly convincing them that this was all legitimate and that what they were going to do was just a prank, not a top secret mission. Sidi and Doan had both been recruited by James because they both were vulnerable and poor. Sidi was also known to be very naive and believed anything she was told, and Doan was very immature and childlike and overly trusting. All the prank videos that Sidi and Doan had been independently filming with James and their crew in the weeks leading up to this big final prank had not been episodes of a prank show. They were actually doing pranks on actual unsuspecting people, but it was all rehearsals. James and his crew wanted to make sure that Sidi and Doan, one, thought this really was a prank show, and two, that they were able to actually do the prank, that they wouldn't chicken out at the end. And on the morning of February 12th, 2017, the day of the big prank, which in reality was the big secret mission, the perfume that Sidi was given was not really perfume, and the oil that was rubbed on Doan's hands was not really oil. They were the ingredients for a deadly nerve gas called VX. Now, separately, these ingredients would not have harmed either.
Have you ever heard of that?
No, sir.
You know, you more like into that, so I don't. This shit is crazy. That's wild. And I ain't gonna lie, in my whole head, I said they sought after her because she just showed that she was like that eager to do anything to get. Those be the ones that they target though.
Like you said, she was super naive to.
And they'll do anything because they know, hey, I gotta do something, gotta make it, and they'll go work for little to nothing.
That's so
to
sad.
Make some money for, you know.
Yeah. I did know that whatever they gave them to spray or whatever the case may be was, to take this person out. But I didn't think it had nothing to do with
some government type shit.
Right, like the government, y'all undercover, your James not even your name. Like, I didn't know it was that deep.
Damn.
Wow. That's sad.
Nerve gas called VX. Now, separately, these ingredients would not have harmed either of these two women. But when you combine those ingredients, that's when it turns into a deadly poison. And so that was why Sidi and Doan had been told to do this prank together, because James and his crew needed them to mix the VX gas on their target's face. And the target was not an actor. His name was Kim Jong-nam, and he had no idea what was going on when City and Do-won touched his face and sprayed him with perfume, but he was dead within 20 minutes, and his death would have been exceptionally painful. It would turn out City and Do-won had been tricked into participating in one of the biggest political assassinations in recent history, because Kim Jong-nam, the target, was actually the exiled brother of the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. And it's widely believed that Kim Jong-un is the one who actually authorized this assassination. Both City and Do-won were initially charged with murder in Malaysia, which comes with an automatic death sentence, but those charges were quickly dropped when it was discovered that these two women were clearly victims as well. Surveillance video at the airport shows City and Do-won handling the extremely deadly nerve agent ingredients so casually, and then after they pulled off their prank, which meant they now had VX gas on their hands, they casually were touching their hair and touching their clothes. It's obvious they have no idea what they're doing. The sickness that City started to feel after the prank was not a hangover. Those were symptoms of VX gas poisoning. It just wasn't enough to kill her. Neither James nor any of the other TV producers has ever been arrested, and to this day, North Korea still says they had nothing to do with this assassination.
Wow.
One November night.
That's mind-blowing. That's different.
That's
I ain't see that one coming.
I didn't see that one coming.
Damn. Do I put it past him to have possibly did that? And if they did, so that's his brother. That's legit his brother.
That's his brother.
Do I put it past him for him?
Nah,
him for sure.
But, oh, excuse me. Wow.
I don't put him to.
I didn't see that. But what? That stuff be deep though.
Nah, that shit, that North Korea shit, that shit different.
It's different because that's what I was like, because what would your, like, why would you want? But then I was like, honey, that'd be on a whole nother level. Different.
Bro.
Deep. Honey.
That's crazy. Because his name is Kim Jong. And his name Kim Jong Nam. And I wonder what's the motivation behind it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I just said.
He was the eldest son too. You know, typically I need a little bit more background.
This stuff be so wild. And you be like, and it is like stuff that you hear like or see in movies, but that stuff be happening for real, especially like, who is that?
Oh, that's his sister. I've seen her before.
You seen her too?
Nah, I've seen the first one before. I was just telling like all of his siblings.
Oh, child.
There gotta be a deep motive behind it, cause you know people ain't just finna, and then they cut costs, they cut like everything off from you. Can't call them.
Nothing.
You need like the line.
You don't know their real names. You know nothing.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about after. I'm talking about after the fact when you got separated from you, hitting them up. They done cut all communication.
Oh yeah.
They on the plane already back.
Planes. Yeah.
And it's like just we gonna do it in the airport. Soon as y'all do that shit, we board the plane. They probably timed it, bruh. They had to do everything precisely and perfect.
This was a professional
hit. Damn.
That's crazy.
And you know damn well they ain't gonna say, yeah, we had something to do with it, or yeah, these people. Like,
I am glad that they were not charged because they knew nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they like so innocent, thinking that they just doing something to make some extra money, you know, to help themselves, to help their family, whatever the case may be. And the whole time they being,
I ain't gonna lie,
like they being used.
You know, that's the reason why like a lot of people say you can't show people, like you really gotta be strong. Because people will prey on the weak. if they see any sign of weakness,
any little sign,
people prey on like.
That's all they need. It's just a little bit.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the reason why sometimes you just can't be too nice. You be wanting to be nice, but people take advantage of your niceness.
Your kindness.
And it's just like, you know, like.
Most definitely. And then I was thinking, I was like, first of all, it would have been weird to me, just how I think, because I just met you in January. We only been knowing each other a month. You done threw me a birthday party.
But I got to do, on his end, I got to do whatever to convince
I know you have to do in your head, but I'm saying for me, for you to do that for me, that's weird. You don't even know me like that.
You want me to tell you one thing for sure I was thinking about the whole time? Is, are you seeing these videos being broadcast anywhere? Or are they just telling you, yeah, you're a hit over here, but are you actually seeing the after effect or the editing process? Or are you even seeing that it's being posted somewhere? You know what I'm saying?
You right?
Like, if they're telling you, but you're not seeing anything, don't be a fool. Be like, hey, I want to see me actually on TV. Like, what channel can I tune into? Yeah. Oh, well, is there not a way we can be seen, see it?
Right.
Well, I don't want to be filmed no more.
Something.
But you know what? I feel like even if they had denied it, they probably would have tried to do something to them too.
Possibly.
Because we got to get rid of people who possibly have seen us and know us.
Yeah.
Even though you don't know my real name, you know, but you can be able to identify me. And they probably ain't never left that country ever since. That shit crazy and mind-blowing.
I didn't see this coming, y'all. This was a whole...
Now, I knew whatever they did in their fragrance, I thought they just knocked him out and possibly kidnapped him, or possibly he died. But I did not see
this.
What, and possibly reason. But we still won't know a reason why. That motherfucker probably... If he capable to do that to his own brother.
Allegedly.
Fuck that shit. I ain't gotta say allegedly. That man ain't even here in the United States.
That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know. We don't know what. We don't know.
They don't know. They don't.
No, but for real though, like, were you the one that ordered it? Was someone else the one that ordered it?
But you gotta peep this shit, because he's such a dictator. Nothing he would have had them beheaded if you had did that to his brother. And he would have turned y'all over. Come on, let's be real. We know how this man is.
You want to something?
We done seen it. If that man is that,
he would have.
He's that powerful and strong.
Because personally, say for instance, if I had all that power, you do something to my brother, my family.
Oh,
my sister,
and I got control of the country the way he does. We gonna find you, come to you,
bringing you. Come on with it.
And 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna turn you over. We just gonna let you know it's being dealt with.
Yeah, take matters into my own hands.
Yeah, you don't it's his own family.
Yeah,
and for him, his brother, his older brother.
I wouldn't do that.
So if that's your older brother, somebody do something to you,
you
gonna retaliate, especially when you got that much power. Nobody is that dumb to do something on a government level and not have you involved when they know who you are.
Yeah.
No, let's be
that's
real.
That's crazy. Yeah.
No, I'm just
saying.
That's
crazy, though. I just could never...
fathom to think of doing some shit like that.
I just could never. But everybody ain't the same.
Hey, y'all spam us up in the comments, man. The ending was shocking.
Yeah,
the ending was
definitely.
very shocking, man. But as always, y'all know how it go, man. I just go by the name DJ the Kid. This is. We are.
Go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar.